David and Madeline. Jim just signed in. Let's
Okay.
call the public hearing on the solar law, local law number 1 of 2021 to order. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. This is an important local law and deserves great public scrutiny. So without any more introduction, let me just open it up for comments or questions from members of the public. Who would like to start?
Go, Jay. Hi, everyone. I haven't read the darn thing. I came here just to be educated.
Okay. Okay, here comes Madeline. Just as a little bit of background, the town zoning law that was adopted in 2014 basically only permitted solar for individual personal or business use and did not allow for any large scale solar. The current law is proposing that we allow up to 10 acres, I believe, Hugh, of a community solar kind of operation.
Community scale, yes.
Community scale. So that's the major change, I think, in the law.
It also addresses the utility scale.
Right. And basically restricts that, correct?
Correct.
As most of you probably know, there's a major issue going on in Copake with Hecate, which is proposing a 500 or 600 acre solar farm, which is consistent with what industrial strength solar farms try to do, but is inconsistent with Copake's zoning. But New York State has created, I guess it's Article 10.
No, Article 10 is the current, if you will, but they have evolved to Section 94C,
Yeah.
which makes for an even faster review, but and which actually has some environmental elements in it, but also allows the state to overrule local in quite a number of circumstances. We
Yeah.
try to make that work to our advantage to the degree that we can in this law.
Yeah. So any comments or questions from anybody?
Yes, this is Scott Benedict of Doodletown Road.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask Hugh a question with his statement regarding how you're bolstering the law to counter the new iteration in New York State that's making home rule even more indefensible.
Basically, Scott, the town comprehensive plan gives guidance to exclude large-scale commercial solar as inconsistent with the rural character of the community. You're aware of that.
Yes.
What we are doing for the utility scale, which in our case, we're talking 2 sets of circumstances, one above 10 acres and one, the 94C regs kick in at 20 megawatts. What we are doing is using the laws of New York State Ag and Markets and New York State's attention to environmental and agricultural concerns to balance the state's push for macro scale solar. It gets a little complex, but basically, while we prohibit utility scale, the megawattage, if you will, at the same time, we understand that the state can override local concerns and indeed even local laws. That is particularly the case where the state is not particularly concerned about rural character, a term that is often used, or even about scenic qualities, another characteristic that is used. However, as we're all aware, the state has quite a body of policies and indeed even laws that show concern for the environment, water, farmland, forests, creatures, all of those sorts of things. And in the text of the law, dealing with the utility scale, we recognize that the state may override us, but when they do, we push that they must still apply state policies and priorities in terms of the environment, in terms of agriculture, other points that somewhat cancel out their ability to override on the solar front. I recognize that's a little bit of a ragged answer, but I tried to keep it as simple as I could.
Well, I guess my motivation for asking, being involved with Sensible Solar and their effort to counter Hecate's effort in Copake, and digging around and discovering what other communities throughout New York State have been going with, and don't really have the local resources to fight such similar projects. I guess it's more about getting ready, because you can imagine that Albany construed this latest iteration to block whatever the defenses might be on the local level. That, you know, it would be interesting maybe to reach out to some of these other advocating agencies that might counter the siting board. And I guess one big consideration is kind of setting a precedent that once one of these becomes approved and built, that it's going to be hard to undo that precedent. And, you know, who knows what the options agreements are going down the road, that they may never really disengage from the site after 20 said years, which is a typical arrangement, that then they can apply maybe to start tapping into water aquifers for different iterations, hydrogen production, et cetera, et cetera. Who knows what's next? So I guess, you know, I'm sure everyone in Ankrum is concerned, but to really try to be a step ahead as well.
Well, and basically, I think we have been in Ankrum a step ahead, not in terms of the solar, but the steps ahead that we have been through our Conservation Advisory Council, our work with Hudsonia, the mapping that has occurred over the last 10 plus years, certainly since 2010, all of which give us the ammunition, for lack of a better term, to address water quality, aquifers, as I've mentioned, forest lands, agricultural lands, forest lands, habitats of various sorts, endangered species, threatened species, all of those. And they have all been cranked into the individual criteria. There's about a dozen of them that are listed for the state to take into consideration. In addition, ag and markets law, which is particularly powerful, also cites a great number of these. So they dovetail with that as well. That's why about a third of this law is, or slightly more, is devoted to the utility scale, the 20 megawatts, the 94C stuff, that, and citing the various characteristics and maps and such that are at our disposal, rather than dwelling on things that we have been told are probably losers from the start, to wit, rural character, scenic qualities, things of that sort. It's hardcore environment, hardcore agriculture.
Who wins? It sounds like the state's against the state.
That's actually a pretty good synopsis. I think that was Michael making that comment, that through John Lyons quarterbacking, we're trying to make sure that we're in position to do.
I just got a chat question asking whether or not the local law is available online. And the answer is yes, it is on the town website on the homepage. And there are a series of attachments on the homepage, including a memorandum from Mr. Clark outlining the scope of the law itself, and several other documents related to the law. So if you go to the homepage of the town website, you will be able to find all the documents related to local law number 1 of 2021. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
One more question. So what is the next step for finalizing or adopting?
We received as I mentioned in the introductory memo that I gave to the town board, there were another number of steps that we took at the February meeting, including referring the proposal to the Columbia County Planning Board, to the Town of Ankrum Planning Board, and a number of other steps dealing with secret. We took a number of those steps pertaining to secret. We referred it to the Columbia County Planning Board and got our response back. They met yesterday and gave us a response today, and we are cleared to go. No intercity, intercounty, et cetera, repercussions. They cleared us. We are waiting for the Town of Ankrum Planning Board, but since a number of members of the Planning Board are on the Zoning Revisions Committee and had a strong hand in crafting this and checking it and being liaisons back to the Planning Board, I would not expect a great deal of difficulty there. What happens then is we will be doing the Environmental Assessment Form Part 2. We will be doing the Environmental Assessment Form Part 3. Part of Part 3 is, I would anticipate that the law itself produces no negative environmental effects. And so I would anticipate that the town board, when we consider that, would issue what is called a negative declaration, no adverse impacts from the law itself. Actually, obviously, quite the contrary. And that would pave the way then for the town board to give the law a final consideration and to adopt or not adopt it. I would expect that to happen probably at our April meeting.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? If not, I think we can consider closing the public hearing. Could I get a motion from a member of the town board to close the public hearing, please?
Art, I would move that we close the face-to-face part, but that we hold the hearing technically open for written comments, whether by letter, by email, whatever written form, until the 12th of April, just to give opportunity for those to come in. For anybody who may not have had a chance to get with us tonight, we could at least hear from them and have a chance to react before the 15 April meeting.
Very good idea. Could I get a second to that motion, please?
I can second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any town board member opposed? Okay, so carried. I don't think David has been able to join us. So it's now about 6:50. The board meeting starts at 7. The link to the board meeting is the same link as to the public hearing, so you're welcome to stay on and just go get yourself a cup of coffee or a soda or something, walk around for the next 10 minutes, let your dog out, and then we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock. So thank you all very much.
Someone should probably call David and see if he's trying to get on. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, if you would, that'd be great.
Okay.